Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. My name is Mr. Dogbelt333, and welcome back to Hearts of Iron 4, Kaiserreich as Ukraine. Now, last video, well, we started working on getting the relief bill passed, but we have some shadowy elements that are kind of working against us in the background, which I don't think I appreciate fully. But we just gotta try to adapt and overcome and all that good stuff. And make sure that they do not throw any wrenches in our plans. But for now, we are fighting a shadow. Although not a formally recognized date like April 29th, Hetman has often attached a special significance to June 24th, 1925. This year notoriously saw ripple effects from the British Revolution bring instability across the world, something from which Ukraine was not spared. Encouraged by the successful Workers' Revolution in Britain, the underground party of Socialist Revolutionary Batists launched a campaign of strikes, sabotage, and public attacks against the government. What was initially hoped to be a fairly short wave ultimately dragged out across much of the year as harsh, indiscriminate crackdowns often instigated increasingly militant unrest. The period's climax came that somewhere in Ottoman minister Fedir Lizohub's life was claimed by an act of revolutionary violence. Lizohub was the only Ottoman minister that the state had known since the position was formalized in 1919, whose leadership helped define the character of the post-war Ukrainian state. His assassination brought tensions to a fever pitch as police forces and Cossack militias engaged with Barbatist cells in mutual retaliation for days. The Hetman was eventually forced to intervene by deploying the military and asserting control over the Cossacks, providing clear direction and order to these suppression efforts, as well as overwhelming force. While unrest was initially flared further, the escalation was eventually successful in driving the Barbatists back underground. Yet the episode exposed the state's frailty and won it few supporters. The events of 1925 also made the Barbatists into the most notorious non-Republican revolutionary force, as well as the most hated enemy of the Hetmanites. The anniversary of Lizohub's death is a solemn date for the state supporters, bringing vows each year that his killers will be defeated. But while sustained pressure has weakened them, the Barbatists persist. The movement has endured years of effort to eliminate them, and OVDV believes that they still orchestrate revolutionary actions in secret. Kev, how are you, my friend? Good to see you. Tell me more about these guys. The Ukrainian Party of Socialist Revolutionary Batists, or Communist Syndicalists, more commonly known as the Barbatist, has its roots as a pro-Bolshevik splinter faction of the Party of Socialist Revolutionaries. Barbatist guerrilla forces were one of the many operating in Ukraine during 1918 and 1919, fighting against the Ukrainian state and seeking the establishment of the Ukrainian communist government. The party was driven underground in 1920 and absorbed local elements of Russian left SRs, opting to bide its time until 25 when it waged a notorious campaign of agitation and revolutionary violence against the government. The incorporated left SR introduced Barbatists to cynical thought, something that helped define their later ideological development. Observing successful syndicalist revolutions in France and Britain, the party adopted syndicalism as a successful model, synthesizing it with their previous positions to develop a program that was suited to Ukraine's material conditions. As their present name suggests, the result was a mixture of council communists and syndicalist ideas. But unlike many Western syndicalists, the Barbatists view agricultural work as critical to the Ukrainian Revolution and seek to give them a leading role in it. The Barbatists has also held left nationalist views since their inception, further making them a curiosity among syndicalist groups. The party is led by Alexander Shumusky, a veteran revolutionary and former member of the People's Republic's Central Rada with a strong background in agrarian issues. Under his leadership, the Barbatists pursued a strategy of confrontation with the state, most exemplified in their 25 campaign. While this approach keeps them in the minds of Ukrainian workers, it has also drawn the permanent ire of the Hetmanites. As such, the movement faces near constant pressure that makes it difficult to grow. It is difficult to see the Barbatists succeed as long as the state places importance on their destruction. Still, they're nothing if not persistent. Indeed. So we have 16 days for the bill. Got a coup in Siam. Interesting. It's not Siam. This is Siam. There we go. Silly me. Would you look at that? That is beautiful. The time has come after months of horse trading, pleas, threats, and compromises. We are finally here. The Soim Financial Committee has approved the bill and is ready to be presented for voting. It is entirely possible this day may decide the course of the entire crisis plaguing our nation. Now we can only wait for the results of the vote, and the bill is passed. That's good, I think. I don't think that's gonna matter, because I think now we have the question of nationalizing or industrialization. You guys know what I mean, hopefully, right? I don't know. Because we are going for the national revolution path. Gonna get quite a bit. Oh, I didn't even read that, and I answered it. I'm that good at chat. What can I say? As the nation becomes ever more polarized and awash with political violence, Hetman Skoropaditsky has addressed directly the Soim in this speech, and he praised the Soim's ability to set aside political differences for the good of the nation, as demonstrated by the recent passing of the Reef Bill. Hetman then urged the Soim to continue its current course and deal with the ongoing protests quickly. While Hetman's trust in the Soim is appreciated, many feel his words contain a veiled threat. If the Soim fails to resolve the current crisis quickly, the Hetman will turn to more direct means without the Soim. He must make sure his trust is reciprocated. That is going to be Nat Pop, which is going to be a little spicy. But last game we ended up, I think the last game was Poland, and that was Syndicalist. So, got that. Nice guess, USA, man. That's okay. All right. How are you, by the way? Nice to meet you? Formally meet you? I am about to do the funny. Correct. There we go. The Soim is jubilant from the recent passing of the bill. The same cannot be said by representatives of VSZV and Protofis. Letter directed of Yelman Minister Vasil Kochubai, principal figure of the VSZV, expresses great dismay with the redirection of the government. After levying great criticism towards radical Democrats and certain agrarian Democrats, he said that the relief bill will not only weaken the nation in the long term, and the protests will not be dealt with as a stroke of a pen. Contrary to crypto-syndicalist nonsense, much of the Soim is peddled. I think I read that too, yeah. Kochubai further warned that if the coalition continues on its current path, then political cooperation between the two will be out of question. Emphasize that further collaboration will not be impossible, though it will be contingent upon the government revisiting its position. I see. Sounds like a lot of bitching if you ask me. What do I want to do? Oh, there's my roommate coming. So you get a funny if Ukraine annexes the Transmore Far East region. I think I know the funny you're talking about. There you go. I'm trying to figure out who that is, music-wise. What do I want to do next? This will give us fortifications, which might be nice eventually, but I think I am. Yeah, let me check in a second. Let's go ahead and centralize the military railway service. So let's go down to this and get a research slot, which will be nice. A united logistical structure is the lifeblood of any army defending a country as large as Ukraine. All trains used by the army will be organized by single departments under the headquarters of the army instead of a current regional organization. We are currently using Yeah, all looks like German stuff. I think it does at least. Oh. As Ukraine enters August, things have only seemed to get worse. Head socialist politicians like Simon Petliura, Isaac Mazepa, and Panas Fidenko call for the establishment of a parliamentary republic with socialist inclinations on land reform and labor association. Others like Venashenko and Hirhorev agitate for the establishment of a socialist republic, taking elements from both the parliamentarians and communist syndicalists, not to mention the Borbists, who seek to enact a mini revolution in most spheres of life. Many feel swayed by these messages, and the atmosphere almost seems to reach its boiling point. We must find a way. We'll find a way, but I don't know if it's the way that they're going to want. The nation stands on the brink of chaos. Vedman's attitude is clear. If a storm cannot defuse the situation, it will be sidelined. Guns will be drawn, and people, perhaps even Ukrainian democracy itself, will die. Understanding all of this, Ottoman Minister Doroshenko's gathered a group of his most trusted men, started negotiating to solve a problem. First problem, unity of Vasoim itself. Currently, the ERDP seems to be at least understanding towards the VDR, bordering open sympathy. It is understandable. They have failed to pass their policies under Skoropadsky's watch. To get their backing, that must change. Intense negotiations between Doroshenko and Shulgin, hard bargain was struck. Democratic reforms, anti-corruption measures, all in exchange for URDP's support. And most importantly, for them to act as mediators between Doroshenko's government and the VDR. Now strengthened with an overwhelming majority of Vasoim, the government could start working towards an understanding with the socialist opposition. A peaceful solution may yet be possible. Yeah, I think it usually does. I think you're right there. That is interesting. Still don't fully know how all the SIAM content works, but that is cool to see. Anyway, Doroshenko's optimistic plans have not been received well by the right wing. Boris Homzin accused the Ottoman minister of worsening the crisis by not acting decisively and harshly. The SHD and parts of the military proposed to the government to strike now, ignore stalling attempts by the liberals, which only gives the socialists time to organize. Mass arrests and raids on known VDR safe houses could decapitate the beast with one swift strike. If only the Ottoman minister was not so weak and decisive, they argue. Final decision lays in the hands of the hetman. Let's find a peaceful solution. We seem to be on the way to do so. Having received a green light from the hetman, Ottoman Minister Doroshenko has proposed the opening of negotiations to the VDR leadership, with messages being relayed through the head of the URDP faction Vasoim, Andriy Novotsky. Republicans and Simon Petliura specifically agree there might even be a peaceful end to these protests. Hopefully, they see reason. Well, here we go. Good news has reached Vasoim. Doroshenko's gamble has paid off, and the leadership of the VDR signaled their willingness to begin negotiations as soon as they can be scheduled. A small delegation from the VDR, headed by U.S. DRP member Andriy Levitsky and UPSR member Vysvolod Holubovich. While success has yet to be proven, their response provided a substantial boost to Doroshenko and his softer approach in the Soim, turning some of the naysayers into a cautiously optimistic mood. The real work starts now. A little bit extra political power, we love it. Before talks can begin in earnest, the VDR has made one demand: the release of political prisoners and the suspension of all current political trials. In exchange, the VDR promised to rein in all the protesters and end some of the current strikes. While accepting would certainly be a gesture of goodwill towards VDR, there is worry within the coalition that the VDR would take advantage of the release to strengthen the protest instead. These political prisoners include numerous agitators and organizers who might even radicalize VDR's rank and file. But it is their first demand. Alright, for the sake of the country, we'll give it a shot. Despite VDR's assertion that they would rein in protests in exchange for release of prisoners, recent events in Odessa have shown that they have less control of protesters than they are ready to admit. A strike by dock workers in Odessa turned deadly, when a confrontation between the police and strikers escalated into a firefight claiming at least 2 lives. Whatever the cause, patience for VDR is running thin within the coalition, and the SHC has cautioned Doroshenko to end the talks. I'll let him continue for now. We'll wait and see. Oh. With no serious pushback from Doroshenko on the incident in Odessa, Boris Hozman has turned to the hetman directly. After lengthy talks, he's convinced Skoropadsky to favor SHG's approach, instead arguing that the rebels are merely playing for time and move on to the offensive. In agreement, Skoropadsky made it clear to Ottoman Minister Doroshenko that the talks are only a distraction. Decisive police action must be taken quickly. And if he does not accept it, the hetman will find himself a minister who will. Oh no. Well, there we go. With the announcement the negotiations have collapsed, sporadic protests in the capital quickly turned into violent rioting, and soon enough Kiev was in anarchy. Clashes with police escalated into protesters organizing into workers' guards, and even taking control of many factories around the city, using them as makeshift fortresses against the military. The western countryside is even worse, and has quickly turned into the VDR's base of operations and practically lost to us. Their propaganda blames the hetman for ending negotiations, and it's clear that if Skoropadsky does not wish to listen to the people, he will listen to their rifles. Any chance at a peaceful option seems dead in the water now. Well, this can't go well. Oh. When things seemingly couldn't get worse, today the streets of Kiev ran red with blood. In Kreshchaki Square, totally nailed that pronunciation, by the way, along the hub for political rallies, workers and peasants took to strike and demanded for the release of political prisoners, end to arbitrary arrests, and for the hetman to accept the VDR's social political program. Police attempted to disperse the protest, but after a shot was fired, it's not sure if a shooter was a policeman or a protester, chaos broke out. Police were bombarded with stones, and some protesters even had revolvers. Fire was answered, and in the end, dozens of protesters lay dead or wounded. While the full situation has yet to be clear, opposing political organizations have declared the hetman and his government to be murderers, and this has only emboldened the protesters. Well, this is the last thing we need. At least we've centralized the railway station. Do we want armor or support artillery? I think I'd probably rather go with speed and organization is decent, but recovery rate is good. Railway gun bombardment, I don't know if it's useful at all, but boost for support artillery I think will be good. As many of our generals have seen their service in the Russian army, they naturally see battlefield as a board of chess. The general's purpose is to create as solid a plan as possible and execute it flawlessly. In practice, this calls for seamless cooperation between infantry, artillery, cavalry, and newer branches of service. Well, the protests explode. News of so-called Kiev massacre did not go unnoticed. The entire country is enraged, demanding justice for those killed, and even the resignation of the government. Somewhat reluctantly, the URDP has gone into opposition to our government, citing our recent actions. Some members, mostly to the right of URDP, still believe that cooperation with the hetman's coalition is better than cooperation with the VDR. Regardless, the influence of the SHG has grown. The repeated attacks on the VDR, decrying them as too unreliable and radical, have been vindicated in the eyes of many in the coalition. We will survive with or without them. Right? 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 Before August, the situation was almost calming down, but after martial law, Republicans have only escalated their campaigns. Thousands of people have been arrested already, but it's not helping much. Large parts of the arrests, especially around Rovno, have been practically outside our jurisdiction for the past months, with local peasant militias acting as law enforcement. The city has been kept under a tight leash, but violent clashes between armed protesters and the police have been more and more common. Worryingly, the revolutionary mood has also infected the military. There have been disappearances as soldiers have left their stations and went home. In some garrisons, large numbers of rifles have gone missing. One unit in Vinitsa refused to follow the orders and disarm the strikers, and instead their captain ordered the men to stand down and stay in the barracks. This kind of subordination has become more and more common in the West, and rooting it out has been slow. Orders have been given out to lay off the most unreliable officers, and move some of the units away from the most unstable regions, but with sporadic railway links, moving troops around the country has been slow. Have they gone mad? This is really not going well. Ooh, Belgium. Belgium is free. Very fun. Well, this is interesting. Okay. The discontented misery has finally reached the breaking point. Penman's response, that of brutality and indifference. It is clear that he must be overthrown for the situation to improve. In a night of violence and chaos, armed VDR militias attacked government buildings and military barracks, killing local politicians and freeing their imprisoned comrades. The directorate of EU PR has been declared by Simon Pellitura and other VDR leaders in Rovno, and they've demanded the hetman abdicate to allow free and democratic elections and redistribute land to the farmers. To support these demands, the VDR started to organize the Ukrainian People's Army, which is rapidly taking control over the western countryside as local peasant militias have joined it. Spreading like wildfire, the revolution is rapidly gathering support all across the country. Skoropadsky has announced that the elections will be delayed until the situation is stabilized. Well, it would be horrible if the video ended right now. It's not gonna end right now because I need to do the outro, but this is where I gotta cut it off. But thanks as always for watching, little gang. Like if you liked, dislike if you didn't, leave any comments, feedback down in the comment section below. I read all the comments again. Appreciate any feedback you might have for me. If you want to keep updated with uploads, hit the sub button and the notification bell. Uploads go up weekdays as well, occasionally Saturdays. So yeah, check those out. If you have any comments, feedback, and certainly in the comment section below, I read all comments again. Appreciate any feedback you might have for me. And check out my various links down in the description box below. That's really it for now, my friends. My name has been Mr. DB333. I thank you for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye now.